No, I mean, I've worked very hard, you know what I'm saying? So I am definitely want to go forward. It's just, I think it's just me, you know? This has been hard. And I know I told you that I don't show a lot of emotions a lot of times because I prep myself mentally and turn it off. If not, I would not even be able to talk right now. So I can take that and put it up on a box on a shelf and leave it there, you know? And then my emotions afterwards, I'll let it go for an hour and then I'll work. That is why I throw myself into work so bad right now.
In April of 2007, a quiet Navy town was rocked by a brutal murder. Cory Voss, a dedicated Navy officer, was found dead in his truck. He had been shot 5 times at close range. Cory was a man respected by his peers, a husband, and a father of 2. By 2009, Cory's wife, Catarina Voss, would be convicted for her involvement in his murder. She received life without the possibility of parole. Although many documentaries have been made about her case, Kat has never spoken publicly about the death of her husband until now. Prison Audio presents Catarina Voss. This is her story. In part 1, Kat talks about her childhood and her life before she met Cory. So join me as I talk to Kat about her life and the events that led up to her being in prison. You're listening to Prison Audio.
Growing up with my family, my mother and father both worked. My mother, she did hair in the house. She had her own. We converted the garage into a beauty salon, and she had a legit business, and that's what she did. And my father was an electrical engineer, and he worked for the government. I went to private school until I was, I think it was my last year in middle school, so I think until I was 14. Yeah, 14. So I was in private school. And I have a sister, but we were never close. Even growing up, it was very hard to talk to her. Later on in life, when she was 21, she was diagnosed with schizoaffective. She was schizophrenic. So I never really have had a connection with her, even growing up. I want to say this, and I don't want to say my parents did the best they could with how they raised us, with their knowledge, and that was very limited from both parties.
As a child, Kat was abused by a close family member.
Grandfather, I will say this, my grandfather, or my dad's dad, he molested all of us girls and his own children, his grandchildren, and really tore our family into pieces. That did not come out until I was 16, and my sister went to college, and she came home and told my parents what had happened. And it had been said before in our family, and they didn't believe my cousin. I mean, it was really bad. Okay. Did it ruin my life? No. Have I been affected by it? Yes, but I am strong enough that I'm moving on from it, My sister did not come back from it. Mentally did not come back from it.
As a child, Kat's father was often away on business trips.
Father was on a lot when we were growing up because he had to have a lot with his job. He would have to go and do things, whatever with the government. And my mom, I felt like she used me as like a scapegoat. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think she inadvertently knew something was wrong with my sister, but didn't say anything about it, and everything was my fault. So, and of course, I wasn't the best kid, but I wasn't the worst. But I never felt close to my mom after about the age of 6. Right now, I haven't talked to her in 3.5 years. All of a sudden, she just went ghost on me. My 2 kids that have lived with her in and out at the exact same time quit talking to me. My oldest daughter is trying to regain, which doesn't live with her and does not get along with her, and basically the same relationship I had with my mom, she has with her, and she does not, she's trying to gain a relationship with me now. But honestly, I understand that they're angry, and I'm not mad, and I'm not mad at them for not talking to me. I'm giving them their space. You know, I still do emails to let them know that I'm okay, just in case they are reading it. I want them to know that, you know, I do care about them, but I understand they need to go on with their life.
When Kat was only 15 years old, she became pregnant for the first time.
Okay, so, all right, I was 15, and it was my first year in high school, and I got a boyfriend, and his name was Brian Ordery, and we had a very, it was very physical. It was very emotional, especially at that time in my life, and I needed that. And we ended up being pregnant the first time I ever had sex, and I didn't want to tell anybody, and I told my cousin in North Carolina, and she ended up telling my mom. And at that time, my grandfather had died, her dad. So it was really not a great time to give her the information, especially in my house, because we were expected to act babies, and we went to church every Wednesday and Sunday. It was a very strict household. So I never even told him I had a boyfriend. I hid it from them, because he was kind of a bad boy, you know? Okay. So my mother did not take the news well, and she came home and threatened me to get the gun and kill me if I didn't get rid of it. And she ended up making it's a little hard. She ended up making the phone call and getting the appointment done, and ended up calling his mother, which had no idea, and a pretty ugly phone call. And of course, I was banned from ever talking to him again, which I did not listen to. But as we were driving up that day, my boyfriend was sitting in the parking lot, and he jumped out of the car because neither one of us wanted to get rid of it. And my mother ran over to him. I don't know what she said, but she went and grabbed me out of the car and then went inside, and she told me to make sure that whatever I tell them, because I guess they take you in there alone, and she knew, and they were going to talk to me whether I wanted to or not, and she told me not to tell them anything that would stop the procedure. It was one of the worst days of my life. So I felt like I had no choice, and I had to go through with it. I didn't have a choice at that point. I really didn't. But I did. But I couldn't, you know? So that happened. I went back to the house, and that Sunday we went to church, and he was talking about abortion. And I wanted to jump up out of the bed, and out of the seat in the church, and leave the sanctuary, and my mom grabbed me really hard and held me down. So I really went on a rampage after that. I went on a very big downward spiral. I was meeting him, sneaking and meeting him. and they did something out of relationship too. And my parents saw this, and they invited him over and told him basically that there were things that happened that they wanted to forget about that shouldn't have been done, but it was done. In other words, they were apologizing, but not. And they let me talk to him until he started not, I guess, conforming to the rules. Do you understand? Like, they affected him, but they didn't as him. So, right. Anyway, but it was a good time during that time when we were allowed to talk to each other. We came in the house every day. He asked me to marry him, and we were engaged for a while. And my mother was there, but she did not tell my father, which is ridiculous. But anyway, it was a lot of secrets in the house. A lot of lying, a lot of secrets, a lot of things not talked about. My main thing I want to say about that is that I guess everything happens for a reason, and whatever did happen made me a lot stronger now. It was a really ugly time. It was probably one of the worst times that I've had, other than, getting in trouble and killing my husband. That's pretty much up there with it. It has stuck with me for the longest. So, and it made me have a different point of view of my mother immediately. That's when we really started having a lot of problems, and I really just couldn't deal with it anymore. There was a lot of running away, a lot of that stuff. So that's the first time that I was pregnant. We ended up seeing each other on and off even after I met my first husband, Stephen.
When Kat was 17, she met her first husband, Stephen. Soon after, she became pregnant with her first child, Carrie.
And I met him through high school, and we hung out, and I was still not over losing a child. I was not. If I didn't care who or what, but I wanted a baby. So tag, he was it. And I know that sounds crazy, but I felt like all of that I was living, I don't even remember a lot of that period right there. It's very fuzzy, but I do remember feeling like I was not even, I wasn't there. Like I was there, but not there in my head and body. I was just going through motions. And I got pregnant with Carrie. And I didn't want to marry him, but he said, I want to get married. It's the right thing to do. And I said, well, okay, maybe that'll make my parents happy, you know? So we got engaged. We started planning a wedding, and
after getting engaged, Kat left home to live with Stephen's family.
Yeah, the relationship I had with his parents. Now, I left home because it was so, it was getting bad between me and my mom. Really, really bad. My dad was gone a lot on work trips, and I ran away from home a lot. I didn't want to be there anymore. And I ended up staying with his parents and him. My mom was not happy about it. I didn't know where else to go. So I stayed there, and his parents were good to me until I got pregnant, and they just started acting funny. You know, when I had Carrie, they questioned the identity of the father. They didn't think it was their son. You know, and that was said in the delivery room.
After giving birth, Kat moved back in with her parents.
I hated my life then. It was a very fucked up period of my life. It should have been a happy time, you know, at the birth of a child. It should be, you know, it should be one of the best moments of your life, and it really wasn't. And I hate that, you know. When I had her, I felt very inadequate as a mother. I lived with my mother and father, and they were, my father was very good about it, but my mom took over, you know, almost forcefully, you know. And what happened to me replayed itself with my daughter years later. So we can get into that some other time. But that period of my life was very strange. My 15, 16, and 17-year-old life was like living in a weird, bad dream. Bad. I wasn't on drugs. My mother always felt that I was manic depressive, and she did all of this to take me to a psychiatrist, psychologist, because me and my sister were molested, and my sister was not feeling right, in the head, and she ended up having, I'm trying to think, schizophrenia. Yes. And so it was a lot of things were coming out of the woodwork, and I don't think any of us were handling it well. None of us. Right. I will say this, I do love my mother. I don't understand her ways, and I don't understand why she hated me so much. And I just, I hope that one day that she can forgive me for my actions, even as I was younger, and as a choice I made that made me come here. And she was not just controlling, but it's like she wanted us to be perfect, She wanted the perception to be perfect. Little family, perfect kids, perfect everything, and everything was completely crumbled. And I don't think she realized how bad it was, because there were things that were happening to me and my sister that she did not know. And when they did come out, it was just like a bombshell. Mm-hmm. So.
You think she kind of tried to sweep that under the rug, or she?
She did.
Yeah.
She did. I didn't deal with the molestation and the physical abuse that happened when I was younger. Really, really young. I couldn't really deal with it, and she felt that it was a mental illness, and it really was not a mental illness. It was more of I couldn't cope with what had happened.
Right, yeah.
And me and my sister both, but I know mental illness runs in our family. I know I have a lot of depression issues, which I am medicated, and I believe in actually getting medicated when you have issues like that. And I haven't really had high ups and downs and all of that kind of stuff. I really believe that back then I just really could not deal with that or life.
Kat says that after the birth of her first child, her mother continued her domineering ways, taking control of the baby and largely raising her grandchild.
I felt like my mom kind of took over a little more than maybe she should have, and then she just went with it. And we were getting into arguments. She had called the police, told them I was crazy, and I just was getting tired of it. She was just being too demanding, controlling, and told me that I could leave the house, but Carrie would stay. So,
Ultimately, Kat would decide to move out of her parents' house, leaving Carrie behind.
I felt like it was in my best interest because I knew I was not going to win that battle with her. First of all, I had no money. I was 17. At the time, about the money that I had received. Do you remember you had asked me about that?
Yeah.
Okay, so there was an inheritance of, I had an inheritance of $25,000. My sister had one, and then my dad had more than that, but we were not allowed to have it until we were 18. So what he did was, in order for me to be able to care for Carrie and get her the things that she needed, he made a ledger book. And every time I needed money, he would go and get it out and let me use it towards things for her. So that helped out a lot. But it wasn't enough. First of all, I know I was not mentally capable of caring for a child at 17. I was still childlike in my head. Like I said, me and my mom were getting into it a lot. My dad, not at all. He would actually take me to breakfast and talk about everything that was happening. And I think that she got really angry about that. Even into my 20s, he was taking me out to breakfast and talking about stuff that was happening at home. Mm. So he knew how I felt. That's something I never shared with her, what we would talk about. Because that was like my private time. It was like our bond, me and my dad.
Mm-hmm. Around this time, Kat inherited $25,000 from a relative. With her newfound financial independence, she began to explore life outside of her mother's control.
But the money, I had went out and bought a car, and I went and I took 3 of my friends and bought them all clothes and shoes. Like I said, I was 17 with $25,000 in my pocket. And that was just, I should probably never have gotten it until I was 22, 23. But that was that part of my life. It all went so fast.
Yeah.
All of that.
After marrying Stephen, Kat would move back in with her parents for a short time. Kat and Stephen would eventually get an apartment together, leaving Carrie with her parents.
At the time, right after Carrie was born, Stephen had proposed to me, and it wasn't like it was love. It was more like the right thing to do. And that's how he explained it to his mother, and I pretty much said, yeah, we're just going to get married. It was not like, in my head, I wasn't into it. I was still connected with the boyfriend that I had lost the child with. So, we ended up getting married, and we stayed at the house for a little while, and at my mother and father's house with Carrie, and then we moved to an apartment. And then he got into the Army, and then we moved up to Fort Drum. I don't know if you know where that is. That's way up in New York, all the way to the tip-top, like, border of Canada.
Okay.
So we were up there for, like, 4 years.
During this time, Stephen became very abusive, to the point that he eventually would be arrested for trying to run over Kat's mother with his car. What was your relationship like with him?
Horrible. There was a lot of, he didn't drink or do drugs or any of that, neither one of us, but he had a abusive personality, and it started back when we had first got our apartment in Virginia. It got so bad one time that he drove us down to North Carolina to my parents had a place on the water, and he just came in and started spazzing out and jumped in the car and tried to run my mother over, my father over, because they were going to find out what was going on with him. He ended up going to jail. I jumped on top of the car. Like, it was crazy. He ended up, going to jail.
Wow.
Yeah. So I had been getting into fights with him, and it was kind of eerie. If he got mad, he would start hitting me, and the main place that he would hit me is in the back. And so I don't know why, but I always ended up getting hit in the back because I would turn really quick. So it was a very ugly relationship.
Did you feel like a little bit trapped inside that relationship?
Yes, I did. I hated it. Yeah.
Were you so you moved to Virginia first, and then up to New York?
Mm-hmm.
What was your social life? Were you like just with your husband, or you were just kind of isolated?
I was isolated. I did not have any friends. None. I tried. He would leave and... Okay, so when we were living with my parents, he had friends and he would just go over their house and stay the night. And I just was like, I didn't understand that. I felt like that you needed to come home. You know, I didn't understand that at all. I was very disappointed. My parents were angry about it. I went out looking for him a couple of times, and he was at parties, but not drinking, you know, just there. And I just left. I had to go back to the house, and I couldn't be around it. When we went up to Fort Drum, I had no friends at all. He had a couple of friends, but it was, I might have gone to a couple of picnics or something, but that was it. We did not hang around anybody. I was enclosed in the apartment.
Due to the abuse from her first husband, Kat felt more comfortable leaving her daughter with her parents. And at this point, your daughter's living with your mom still?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And I did not want her around him. When the beating started down, or abusive behavior started in Virginia, I did not even want to try even further to get her. I did try it one time, but I backed up only because I really wanted to be there for her, and I felt that I was not. But then in the grand scheme of things, it would have been really detrimental to her if I had brought her up there to New York. And my parents were not going for it.
Yeah, I can imagine you're trying to protect her if you're being physically abused.
Yeah, but they didn't know any of that until later. They did, but they didn't. They knew his personality, and of course, when he tried to run over my mother, then that was, it was bad. I should have never gotten married to him, ever.
Did his personality change after? Or was
it got worse.
It just got worse.
It got worse.
Yeah. After Stephen was deployed to Korea, Kat would leave New York and get her own apartment in Virginia.
When he got a thing to go to Korea, I had moved down to Virginia and got my own apartment, and I was happy. I was happy for once in my life. I could actually go out and do things. I started school, a nursing program, and I had never gone out. I had never partied. I had never done anything, nothing. So I just kind of, I went off the deep end. I went out there, and I was so done with Stephen. I was done. I knew I had to do something about getting a divorce, but I just kind of put it behind me. Yeah.
After she moved back to Virginia, Kat would start going out to bars and clubs. She described this time as being her first sense of freedom away from the abuse of her husband and the control of her mother.
I did. I had never been around anyone drinking. I had never been anyone smoking cigarettes, really, other than my grandmother. That was it. Like, I wasn't around drugs at all, period. Not at all. Even into my 20s, So 22, I started wilding out.
22?
Because, it was 22. My 21st birthday was horrible. I spent it with one of his friends. They took me out with their 4 kids, and they had to go shopping for something. They just wanted to take me out with them to get me out. And I think that they had seen I think that maybe they had felt something because she kept asking me questions about how I was really doing and stuff like that. So after that, I never went out again until I left. So 22, yeah. When he left for Korea.
Out of Bravo 1 to 11 Upper, report to this station. Bravo 1 to 11 Upper, Ali, report to this station.
So it was my first time at a club. Like, it was all the nursing girls got together and went out to the club, and I didn't know what it was. That's how sheltered I was.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the school?
Bravo 1 to 10 Upper, report to this station. Bravo 1 to 10 Upper, report to this station.
Do what now?
I was just wondering about the school. Like, what were your plans with it and all that kind of thing?
Well, here's was my plans, and I believe it was August or July had started at an LPN class.
Steve, Bravo 1, 226 Alpha, report the visitation. Steve, Bravo 1, 226 Alpha, report the visitation.
Yeah, so they told me that it was not a college, but it was a pilot program through the hospital, a really huge hospital, Riverside Hospital, and you could earn your LPN within 11 months.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, I lasted till October, and then I just dropped out and completely just started partying full time.
After dropping out of school, Kat would start partying and going out almost every night. It was during one of these nights that she would meet her second husband, Cory Voss.
But during that time is when I met Cory. So one of those outings at the club, I had met him in Virginia Beach. Yeah. And right about that time is when I quit school. Yeah. My parents thought I was still in school. I was not.
All right, guys, that is going to be it for part 1 of Kat Voss's story. But what do you think about this one? Leave a comment below and let me know what you think. And definitely stick around because we have a lot more to get into with her. I've had a lot more conversations with her already, so there's a lot of content on the way. But if you do like this type of content and you want to help the channel grow, the best way you can do that is by liking the video, commenting on the video, and subscribing to the channel. And if you are so inclined, please share this video with your friends or share the link on social media. I would really appreciate that as well. Yeah, so before we go today, I just wanted to show you guys a clip from a documentary. This is a clip from a documentary that shows the early life of Kat from the perspective of the media, I guess, and kind of how they have portrayed her in the media. So, I think it's kind of interesting to take a look at both sides of the story, to hear from Kat, and then to kind of see what story has been out there for years. So, yeah, whichever one you choose to believe is up to you. But I think it's interesting to have a conversation about. So definitely leave your comments below, and we will see you on the next one.
She was born Kathleen, but wanted something fancier.
It seems like she was trying to reinvent herself. She made up a name change from Kathleen to Catarina, but make herself a little bit more exotic.
Definitely a drama queen. She was theatrical, that's the word for it. She was over the top all the time.
She's somebody who feels that she's special, she's unique, she's entitled. She likes excitement. She likes the newness of things. She likes to indulge her urges.
And that's nothing new. Back in high school, Kat had much more on her mind than studying. At 17, her steamy encounters are soon put on hold as she's pregnant. Kat marries her boyfriend and gives birth to a daughter. But her relationship hits early trouble because she has a new love, shopping till she drops.
Kathleen likes money. It does something to her. It was like a aphrodisiac of some sort, just made her manic. She just went wild when she got money.
She's somebody that feels as if she deserves this sort of exotic, lavish lifestyle. To Catarina Voss, money is like oxygen. It's probably the most important thing in the world to her, and it's what she is going to revolve every effort in her life around.
A wealthy relative leaves her $25,000 in trust, money she can spend as soon as she's 21.
The day she turned 21, came bursting in the house. I'm 21 today, and I went to my father's house and told him I wanted my money. And she said, I told him I don't care what it's invested in if he doesn't have my money by 5 o'clock. I'm calling the police on him, and I'm just gonna raise all kinds of hell. I want my money.
Kat gets what she wants and immediately goes shopping.
She hit that department store like a rat in a cheese factory. Bug-eyed, breathing heavily. She was just manic.
Hi, how are you today?
She is somebody with very, very little self-discipline.
In 6 weeks, she was broke. I said something about her money, and she said it's gone.
You could give Catarina Voss $1 million. It would be gone in 6 months.
After 5 years of financial chaos, her husband has finally had enough and divorces her. She's 22 and wastes no time going on the prowl for a new man, while her parents raise her daughter.
It's Cat, okay. Yeah, innocent, and I'm not always innocent.
Hitting the local bar scene, she meets and targets Cory Voss to be her future husband and cash machine.